The following program is a PodcastOne.com production.
From Hollywood, California, by way of the Broken Skull Ranch, this is the Steve Austin Show.
Give me a hell yeah.
Hell yeah.
Now, here's Steve Austin.
All right, here we go. I'm sitting here talking to Tommy Rogers. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and have that included on the get-go. Tommy, welcome to the Steve Austin Show. Man, you and me have been talking for about the past couple of weeks here and there. And, man, it's been a long time since I've seen you or heard from you. And you was always one of my favorite tag team wrestlers, and as part of the Fantastics, a hell of a damn tag team. Anyway, it's good to be talking to you again. I just wanted to call and shoot the breeze with you and talk a little bit about the business of pro wrestling.
Yeah, you know, Steve, like you just said, it's been too long. But you know how that goes when we get out of this business. Most of us, we do our own things, which is great. But, you know, Steve, I know you started a little bit after I did, through Chris Adams, and I didn't even know you knew who we were until we started talking. There were a couple, like you were, watched us before you started.
You guys were on fire back in the day, and I think it was actually the conversation I was having with Jim Cornette. And, of course, we were talking about the Midnight Express and all the great tag teams, and you guys got to be lumped in there with some of the great tag teams. And sometimes, I don't know, I guess whether it's underrated or overlooked, you guys had a huge impact wherever you went. So, man, and you know me, I came in a little bit behind you, but I was a fan of pro wrestling, and I love tag team wrestling. It's kind of disappeared off the landscape these days. And, hey, man, with that being said, and with your history in tag team wrestling and y'all being so good at it, do you currently watch today's product at any level, whether it's WWE or TNA or Ring of Honor? Because I know you're over there in Hawaii.
Yeah, Steve. I don't watch much TV. I'll click the channels. I watch more of this history or some kind of hunting, stuff that I know you and I are similar, and we don't even know that. But I came from a background of hunting, fishing, being outdoors, fixing my own stuff, old school. Bobby and I, we were both single wrestlers, as you know, and I had went as far as I could probably go, winning the World Junior Heavyweight Championship. And don't get me wrong, I started in Florida and got a little break through Bob Armstrong in Atlanta and Brad Armstrong, God bless him. They helped me a lot. I used to ride, Bob was booking in Atlanta, and I used to ride, Buzz Sawyer and I were on a high school wrestling team, and Brett Sawyer, or the real name's Bruce William and Brett William, and Bruce, my coach, my wrestling coach, Dan Malger, got a hold of Eddie Graham, and got Bruce a gig in Florida, but he was greener than grass, but he was drawing houses in high school, like back in the day of drawing houses in Texas at a high school.
Right.
Yeah. So back then, if you mentioned in our 4A school, Bruce William, he was over before he was over. He was over more than he was really in his career. He got me in the business. I just went to a match.
Now, when you're saying Bruce, you're talking about Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer, right?
Yes, sir. Yeah. So he's the one that I have to give credit to. I had just he had came back. They sent him to North Carolina to get that green out of him.
Right.
Or somewhat of it, green. I mean.
Yeah, just got to get down the road and learn.
Yeah. Because, he already had what the marquee said, wrestling.
Tell me about the Mad Dog part of him, because that's interesting. Because, Buzz was a little bit older than me and never crossed paths with him, never met him. But he was one of those guys, when he got on TV, he was pretty damn scary. He was Mad Dog Buzz Sawyer, and he was physical. You could not see through his work, and he was a hell of a worker. So what was he like as a high school teammate back in the day? What was he already somewhat of a wild man in the amateur ranks?
You hit that nail right on the head, Steve. I was in one of the first race riots in Florida, and who caused it was Buzz Sawyer or Bruce William.
What happened?
He was in the cafeteria, and a couple of ethnic backgrounds came up to him and wanted to test him. And he walked over, pulled a picture off of the wall, and headbutted a nail into the wall, and blood squirted everywhere. And then, of course, what happened after that, the whole school went into chaos mode, man. I mean, I've never been in any kind of a riot situation, but back then in 1978, oh God, it was every man for themselves. And I hated to be a part of that, but it is what it was. It was a riot, and they shut the school down, and a lot of people got hurt, some severely, some not. Nobody died, but that's what Bruce was like. He was. You remember Matt Bourne?
Of course, Matt Bourne was somewhat instrumental in my upbringing.
Right, he was almost as close as you can get, if not a little more wild than Matt Bourne.
But was he a mean-spirited person? Because I've heard good things about Buzz Sawyer and bad things about Buzz Sawyer. It seems like he was when he kind of went on the dark side and maybe was a little bit in a chemical or inebriated state. He could be just a pretty bad person.
Yeah.
And pretty much a wild man. But a god dang, he scared the hell out of me on TV.
You saw what you got. You got what you saw. There was no gimmick.
So how close were you guys when he gets you in the business? Okay, now you guys are both pro wrestlers. Like, are y'all traveling down the road together? Are y'all best friends or just acquaintances that went to high school together?
All that, Steve. What happened was his younger brother, Brett, me and him were the same age. So as Brett got into the business, he went up to Portland, Oregon, and became the champ up there and wrestled Ric Flair. And after Atlanta, that little time that I spent there in Atlanta, that Bob Armstrong and Brad, I was sleeping on Brad's floor or couch, either one, riding to the towns. When somebody wouldn't show up, I would fill in, and I was greener than the brightest grass you'll ever see.
Yeah, we all been there.
Yeah, I didn't know a wristlock from a wristwatch. I mean, I knew how to wrestle, but I surely didn't have a clue of the business. But I was, thrown to the wolves, and I was trying to find my way through it. I mean, you know it, I know it. So Buzz and Brett both. I finally got to wrestle Buzz when Bobby and I got together, and we can go on about that too. And it was in Shreveport, Louisiana. There at the TV taping for Mid-South for Bill Watts. And, Buzz and Dickie Slater.
Yeah.
Now, you remember Dickie Slater.
Absolutely.
One punch, Dickie Slater. So,
was he as tough as everybody says?
I wasn't there, but I was there when I loved Steve to death. I loved Steve Borden. And so I can't say anything about Steve bad or Dickie Slater.
Right.
But yeah.
You're speaking of the incident down there at Mid-South Territory.
Sir?
You're speaking about the incident down there in the Mid-South Territory, Bill Watts.
Yeah. Well, we were blessed and fortunate to get to a lot of territories back in the day, oh gosh, dude, like I said, man, we could write 3 or 4 books between both of us.
Well, tell me about when you were coming up and you're being green, and so you get a little bit of training, but really in pro wrestling and almost like anything in life, the real training is on the job experience. It's getting in the ring with a veteran, learning the paces, just getting the mechanics down, and then learning the psychology, being able to tell a story. With that being said, going back to those younger days, What were some of your payoffs? I mean, because when I was down there in Tennessee in USWA in 1990, man, you know, my payoffs were $15 and $20 a night. On the receiving end for you, how much money were you making when you broke? I know that sounds like a rib, but I'm shooting. I couldn't afford to eat. We call it the Nutrisystem territory because everybody that went there lost weight, and that's the bottom line. That's the truth. No one could afford to eat. And Dutch and Chris put gas in my car, and I knew where every all-you-could-eat buffet in town was. So what kind of dough were you making back in the day?
Yeah, bro, I'm right there with you, buddy. I'm right there with you. Eddie Graham wasn't known for the greatest, one of the better payoff. He was okay.
I've been reading about that. I've been reading Gary Hart's book, and he talks about him being offered the book many times down there in Florida, but he knew that as great of a finish guy and bright of a mind as Eddie Graham was, he didn't pay much, so he never wanted to go down to Florida. And Florida was a great territory to be in. There was long drives, but the weather was great, and Florida's a great state, but the payoffs weren't so good.
Right. There you go. My first payoff, back in the day, they had those, and I can't remember the guy's name, who sat in there in Tampa, that little hole-in-the-wall studio. Yeah. He would print it up on a old type of adding machine, and it'd come out on a piece of paper. So I actually, how I got into business, when I went to the show with Bruce Buzz, it was Orlando. And he had just come back from Carolinas, and he had asked me to ride with him to the show. And I was going to a community college at the time, thinking I wanted to play football.
What position did you play?
I was outside linebacker and defensive, actually safety.
Hey man, you were always real put together. You could see that you put a lot of time in the gym, a great physique. What kind of bench press did you have coming out of high school, and what kind of 40 time did you have?
I was doing 315 out of high school, before I hit the gas, Yeah. And then once I hit the gas, I jumped up to 4 something.
What kind of 40 speed?
I can't remember back then, but I ran track. I played about every sport, but probably basketball. Yeah, I played sports from a young age. I mean, I started pee-wee football, t-ball.
So when did you? Baseball. But you mentioned getting on the gas and getting your bench press up into the 400s. So did you get on the gas once you got into the business of pro wrestling, or before then?
No. There you go. Right back to Buzz Sawyer. Buzz. He was the first one in a bathroom in a gas station to shoot me with some Cestinol or test or something. Yeah. Yeah. And I was scared to death, man. I was shaking in my boots, but I couldn't show him. You know what I mean?
What possessed you to take this step? Because, I mean, that's an important step for any young man to consider. And to anybody listening to the show, I don't recommend this route to anybody, especially to you youngsters, until you make that decision till you're after 21, 22, 23 years of age. It's a very, very heavy-duty decision. But nonetheless, here we are. Tommy Rogers is in the bathroom with Buzz Sawyer, and he's getting his first shot. What made you decide to take the plunge right then and there, Tommy?
Well, as you know, and I know, Steve, is when you first get your accolade, what we call ass out here, when you get your accolade in that ring and you catch just a glimpse of that feeling of those wonderful fans that you can pretty much have them right there in your hand. That feeling of that live feeling. You know it. I know it. Yeah. And I hope everybody in the world could feel what we have felt with 20,000 or even 4 people in a building that you can actually control. And it's not, I'm not controlling them. I'm telling a story.
You're telling a story. You're taking them on a ride, and it's an adrenaline rush because you're listening to that crowd. And man, I tell you, and you know Tommy as well because you're old school and y'all was a hell of a tag team. But man, you're listening to that crowd, and that's how you're making your decisions. And boy, I tell you what, when you go into a town and all you got to do, I mean, it's a tackle drop down and a hip toss, and they're going ape shit. I mean, that's a great day at the office. But you're listening to this. It's time to shine. fine. It's time to get some heat. It's time to make that comeback. Maybe someone's going to slip on a banana peel, but it's the control of that crowd, and that's what you're talking about. And that high that you get in the ring and taking those people on a ride, I mean, that lasts until several hours after the match is over. But that's what you're speaking of.
Exactly, Steve. And I wish everybody could just feel that feeling and that adrenaline, if that's what it is. Like you said, that high is unbelievable.
But going back to your point, are you saying that the gas enhanced that, or you wanted to make yourself larger than life, so to speak?
So to speak. Well, back in the day, Steve, and the stereotypical wrestler was kind of chunky.
Right.
So now we're going into a second generation, which I am, and you are. We're going through the second generation, and we're starting to see guys that are starting to look like bodybuilders, but, wrestlers.
Right. The physique became more important.
Right. I always thought I was too small to be a wrestler.
Right.
See, myself was telling self, was my own worst enemy. I constantly had that little thing on my shoulder telling me, you need to be bigger, you need to be taller, you need to be faster, you need to be better. And that's what kept me driving. But that's why, Bruce said, hey, if you want to, get a little bigger, you're going to have to do these steroids. And I don't recommend them to nobody. Whoever's listening to this, do not do steroids. I have 2 hips. I have 2 necks. I've got a shoulder. I've got a couple backs. And now I need 2 new ankles. And it's all that pounding and all them steroids over the years that ate my joints up, made my bones. I haven't had a broken bone, knock on wood. But no.
Yeah, but Tommy, would you attribute the steroid use to just all the joint injuries, or that was just through the process of all the bumps and all the miles down the road?
Well, when and I know, Steve, when you do steroids, when you're born into this world, God's given you a body. Now, when you put steroids in that body, it puts you in a limit. Your body's not prepared for 400 or 500 pounds on a bench press internally.
Right.
Your joints, everything. But the steroids are amping you up and making you able to bench press that and then to squat enormous amounts. And all that goes onto your joints, everything.
Yeah, but you know what, Tommy? You had a great physique, but you also had the athleticism and all the high-flying moves and the technical aspects of your game, but you never looked like a guy that was gassed to his gills. I mean, to me, appearingly, that you were maybe a moderate user, but you spent a lot of time in a gym and not an abuser.
Well, of course, Steve. You got to be smart in this business, and you know that. We're not just jocks, as a lot of people say. You're a dumb jock. You know what I mean? People don't realize, and maybe some do, that you got to be a thinking man when you're in that ring. You know, back in our day, it was ad lib. When the crowd ain't buying it, you got to change it. It's just part of the business. You can't go on a set schedule or a set script. When the crowd ain't buying it and you're still going that same road, you got to turn it around. You got to go another way.
Right.
You got to get those people where they're going to, in other words, you want to leave that crowd physically, totally exhausted because they've had a long work week. They've had bosses yelling at them. They've had family problems. And they come to get laugh, cry, mad, happy, all those feelings. And you want to leave them people, when they leave that arena, you want to leave them totally exhausted. So when they drive home that 20, 30 minutes, all they want to do is reminisce about all those matches.
Right.
And then go, damn, I can't wait for next week.
Yeah, you always want them to come back happy.
And I'm so thankful for all those fans that came out and were in those seats because, and I know, many times we looked out at those arenas and there might have been 4 people. There might have been 8 people.
Yeah, I think we all had some. We still
did the same exact thing with 4 as we did with 40,000.
Right. Work your ass off. I'm coming right back with Tommy Rogers of the Fantastics, one hellacious tag team that I grew up watching and admiring back in the day. I'm coming right back.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
The holidays are finally here. We get to stuff our faces, eat like there's no tomorrow, and shop the best gifts of the year. And I know the coolest product to cook your meals that also makes for the perfect gift. I'm talking about Meter. It's a really slick, smart meat thermometer that tracks your temperature of your meat and lets you know when it's ready to come out of the oven or grill. This way, you never undercook or overcook that juicy prime rib or roast chicken again. The app even estimates how long your cook will take and gives you a countdown so you know how long you have to kick back, spend time with the family, make an old-fashioned, and you'll get an alert when your food is ready to eat. Perfect for the oven, the grill, smoker. I know a lot of you like air frying, and you can definitely use Meter in that. Super simple, super easy, and you'll get perfect, consistent results. Everybody remembers that year when Dad forgot to pull the turkey out of the oven and it was just a little dry, or when Cousin Rob wasn't paying attention to the barbecue. We've all been there. So monitor your prime rib, chicken, smoked pork shoulder, all in the app. Now you can do other things and not have to constantly open the oven or grill to check on your food. It comes with cloud service, so you can have limitless range. You can monitor the cook while watching TV or running to the store. This is the perfect tool for your holiday cooking and the perfect gift for someone who loves to cook or grill. It's not too late to get your gifts. Head over to Meter.com and shop the most wished-for gift this season. That's MEATER.com. Happy holidays and happy eating.
All right, here we are talking to Tommy Rogers. Hey, we got two roads to go down here. We're talking about the body and how much punishment it can take. So, and with one thought, I want to ask you about how many bumps does the human body have in it, because we all have our limit. And so these days, as I would tell any youngster, if I was to go down to any school, is to pick his spots. It's one thing to go out there and be hungry and try to get noticed and take an outlandish or crazy bump because you're trying to make an impact and get someone. You're almost screaming in the ring, "Hey, notice me, I have potential." But then on the other end of that, since we're still talking about kind of the performance-enhancing stuff, the other stuff that went with it that was prevalent in our business back in the day was the prescription drugs, and also the cocaine. Because when you mentioned Buzz Sawyer, and I was a big fan of Buzz, and you were a friend of his, but he was onto the dark side as well there too. So what was your introduction to that side of the business? Because before I got into business, Tommy, I had never seen a pain pill in my life. I'd seen an aspirin and maybe an ibuprofen, whatever it was at the time. I remember riding down the road. We were going to a shot in Oklahoma from Dallas, Texas. I just got finished playing football at North Texas State. The person driving the car pulls out a bottle of pills and says, "Hey, man, you want a Vike?" I said, "What's a Vike?" And they said, "It's a pain pill." I said, "What does it do?" I said, "Well, it's a pain pill, but it'll give you a buzz." I said, "Okay, sure, I'll take one." So that was my introduction to a Vicodin. Now, I didn't get carried away with the pain pills like a lot of guys did. My vice was a little bit more on the alcohol side, whether it's whiskey, vodka, or beer. But so what was your introduction into the darker side of pro wrestling?
Yeah, man, we all have that memory, first time of anything. I'm not going to, throw dirt and make anybody.
No. You don't have to mention names.
I'm not here to do that.
No. I don't do this podcast.
My story, and you got a story like I got a story. It's a story.
Yep.
I'm in Atlanta. There was a veteran that I looked up to in the business and asked me for a ride to a club.
Right.
I said, "Yes, sir. I have no problem with driving you to a club."
So what happened at the club?
Yeah. So I start driving, and he pulls out a bottle, and I said, "What's that?" And it was a green, like a jelly bean.
Yeah.
And he said, "This is a Placidil."
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah. I said, "Well, what is that?" And he goes, "It's a pre-surgery drug." And I said, "It's a pre-surgery drug?" And I'm thinking in my head, I'm not saying this to him, we're going to a nightclub, and you're taking a pre-surgery drug. So now I know why I'm driving him.
Yeah.
So he takes this Placidil, and we get in the club. Now I'm standing right next to him. I mean, but 3 inches from this veteran that I looked up to, that I still do, that I love to death. And he goes, Tom, he looks at me, he goes, grab me, get me out of here. I went, what? He goes, grab me and get me out of here now. I said, yes, sir. So I hooked him up under the arm, and this guy had some arms.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this Placerville kicks in on him. And he went into like mush. And I'm carrying or trying to get a 230, 40-pound man out of this club without people seeing this veteran.
Hammered.
That's what it looked like.
Because the Placerville, I never really messed with the Placerville, but that's more or less a downer type drug, correct?
Well, if you want to, yeah. They don't make them anymore.
Yeah.
Because of all the tragedies, and I think they just deleted them, and thank gosh they did. But yeah, it's a downer. What it does is it's a jelly bean, and it's filled with this liquid. They come in different milligrams. 500, which they call them the greenie meanie, is what they call them. Yeah.
It's got sedative effects of relaxation and drowsiness. And it's used for some cases of insomnia. So it's a definite downer. So, okay, you put him in the car, y'all hauling us back. So this is your first witness. Because, man, before I got in the wrestling business, dude, coming up in South Texas, I ain't never seen a drug.
No. I mean, I'd seen my brother snort this white powder before, but no, I had no clue about, any of that. And so that was my first introduction to that. And then, of course, as the business continued and I continued, we had another veteran. I was up in Oregon, and he would go into New York, and he would come back with a supply of different vitamins,
right.
Not vitamins, but drugs, all assortments of. I guess they had a doctor there that used to come in the locker room and just hand them out. And, he would bring them back, and then we would all, share them.
Right.
Because back in the day, you were hurting, man. You had some pain somewhere. And, you had problems sleeping, or, you were running the road so damn hard, you didn't know if you were coming or going. You just knew you had to get to that town and do whatever it took, and then get back home as safely as possible, and then to get up, do it all over again. The gym, the rental car, or your own car. You try to eat. Like you said, not getting paid all that good. It wasn't a glorious lifestyle.
But it was a hell of a lot of fun. But that's one of the things when I tell people about how grueling the business of pro wrestling was, and back in the day, of course, I've been out, damn near as long as you have. I kind of tell people it's almost like living three lives in one body. On one hand, you're a professional athlete. You're hitting the weights and you're performing in the ring. On the other hand, you're a rock star. Everywhere you want to go, people want to party with you. And on the other hand, you're a truck driver, because getting to and from your shots, whether it's, after the wrestling match and before the wrestling matches, you're on the road driving long distances. It's all these elements combined, which kind of, end up, and we see a lot of our brothers kind of leave this world too soon. And I think it's a culmination of all these factors. And you really have to keep your head on straight. We've lost so many guys, but that's just kind of the nature of the business. But, let's get off the dark side and talk about the bumps in the ring. You talk about you've had 2 hip replacements, a shoulder surgery. What do you need to get done with your ankles? And how is it? How hard is it for you to get out of bed, dude?
Yeah, good question, Steve. Damn good question, son. Well, each morning, Steve, over here in the beautiful, lovely Hawaii, Oahu, I get up at 4 a.m. I probably try to, take a leak or two between probably 9:30 and 10 o'clock at night to 4 in the morning. As you get older, your prostate, I want to sometimes, just bring a cup, set it next to me, but, I probably couldn't hit it. I couldn't even hit that big hole, so, but cut it short between the gentleman's room and getting up at 4 a.m. I try to turn on some music, rock. I go in and pour me, and I've said this to women, and I'll say it to all the women around the world. What you figured out years ago about bass, you guys got it going on. Because I pour me a hot bath and I'll put some bubbly in there, man. I'll put me a rubber ducky or a submarine and have
So, but Tommy, let me ask you a question. Why in the hell are you getting up at 4 a.m. every morning?
Well, Steve, I have so many injuries that I don't sleep good.
Right.
And, you know, I hate living out of a yellow bottle.
Right.
You know, and that means medication.
Right.
To all you people out there that don't know what a yellow bottle is, and God bless you, that if you don't have to, I don't recommend it. But as you know and I know, that's the only thing that'll get my motor running. But I have to get up that early because I work a full-time job over here at a major warehouse company for the benefits because, you know, I know all my money went to my body.
Right.
Because, you know, and I know if you're laying in that bed in the hospital and they say, well, will you take X amount of dollars or will you take your health? Will you want to walk again?
Right.
That's a no-brainer.
Right.
Take the money. I want to walk. I want to get out of here.
Right.
I don't want to be in this damn hospital. So long story short, yeah, I get up 4 a.m. I get a hot bath. I got to eat me a couple boiled eggs, and then I take my medication, and I hit the gym.
So,
I don't
Tommy,
hit the gym,
Tommy, describe for me then, as you get up in the morning on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being extremely high pain, 1 being almost minimal, where would you put yourself on a scale of 1 to 10 each morning?
I hate to say it, Steve. I'm 11, man.
Oh man, dude. I mean, okay.
Buddy, I'm not complaining.
No. I get it, but you're laying in bed. When you get up, I mean, what's aching? Is it your whole body? Is it your back? Is it your spine? The knees?
Well, it starts at my neck. Then it will go to my shoulder. Then it'll go to my lower back. And then when I put my feet on the floor, I got so many chips in my ankles, Steve, that after walking all day on a warehouse floor,
yeah,
I'll make some noises that most people think that it would be a zoo. They would think it would be wildlife, you know.
Yeah.
And all I can do is laugh about it because it hurts when I stand up. You know, I mean, it's excruciating. So that's why I have to get in that bath to take off that gravity, and that hotness loosens me up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you talked about doing your workouts, Tommy. What kind of workout are you on now with all the pain that you're in? Is it you just trying to do some volume stuff and some lighter weights to get the blood flowing? Yeah,
Steve. I call it a geriatric workout. You know, I go in the gym and I get on that rubber ball and I stretch. I got to stretch my back. I got to stretch. You know, I got to get that blood flow into all those parts that are all like a broken down car that's been fixed, and you know, it's just barely able to run. You know, I don't know how else to say it, but I'm just blessed and fortunate that I'm able to get to that gym and I'm able to stretch and I'm able to pay for that. You know, I've never, you know, and I know we've been blessed, and I've never paid for a gym membership.
Right.
You know, so we've had so much glory in our day, like you said, a rock star, a truck driver, all that we want to go undercover or off the grid, so to speak.
Yeah.
So what we do is we try to just stay under the radar. We just try to not be noticed. You know, we just try to go through the day without anybody going, hey, where do I know you from? Or, hey, what you, you know, which I'm blessed. I don't mind that. But, you know, that's not what I live for. I had a great career.
But here's a question.
I never had a job.
Okay, but here's the question. You know? Okay, you're from Florida. You build from Los Angeles, California, in your wrestling career. How in the hell did a Florida boy end up retiring and ended up in Hawaii?
Well, Steve, you know, as we travel through our beautiful, luxurious career, we get to go to a lot of places, man, and see a lot of things. You know, some people never leave their backyard.
True.
And we were blessed and fortunate enough to see the world, man. I mean, and get paid for it, and get frequent flyer points, and then also ride on Lear jets and twin props and private planes and limousines, and you know, it's all just material. It's all, but it is what it is. And so Bobby and I, in our latter part after we left WCW, we got a call from All Japan Pro Wrestling. And another tag team, I'm not going to bring up no names, before us, and you know who I'm talking about probably, they had went over there when we were in WCW. Well, they lasted about 3 days.
Right.
They came back and told us that they had to fight for their lives and they had to leave. And so Bobby.
So you basically you're referring to that strong style wrestling over there, correct, Tommy?
Yeah.
Okay, so they didn't like the strong style, so all of a sudden now you and Bobby are heading over there. Now,
yes, sir.
So y'all end up in Japan. Now let me ask you, how did you like that strong style? I mean, there ain't nothing like getting in the ring with the Midnight Express or the Rock and Roll Express because of the way they take care of the people in the ring. I mean, those guys are just as you were, and Bobby, just extreme technicians, light as a feather, and everything looked top notch. So you go from that dynamic to going to strong style. Dude, was that a culture shock?
Well, Steve, I came from a shooting background.
Well, yeah, shooting background and coming on with Buzz, and everybody knew how tough Buzz was and how convincing he was in the ring. So, but certainly on a night-in, night-out basis. How was that, dude?
Well, I'll just put it real short and real sweet. What Bobby what he said to me. He said, I know you can shoot,
right,
but I can't. I said, Bobby, don't worry about it, buddy. I got it.
Right.
I got us. You know what I mean? I ain't scared of nothing. I mean, we're getting this opportunity right here, right now. And when we show up in Japan, we got to show up, buddy, and we got to amp it up about 200%. Now, are you with me? Or are you not? Because if you're not, we're not going. If you're with me, we're going.
Right.
You know, and they offered us some good money. And back then, you know, we both said, yeah, let's go do it. So our first night in Corkin Hall in Tokyo, we wrestled 2 veterans, and they were probably 50 or 60.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they wasn't.
No, I get you.
Yeah. So it was light as a feather.
Well, see, that's the thing. The older guys are light or snug, but light as a feather because they get it. But it's that young boy, middle-aged group. Those are the ones that want to pound the hell out of you because they're still in that mode. Yeah.
Well, that happened too, Steve. It was our probably 3rd night in, and the tag team that came before us told us about the tag team that they ran back to America from. And here we are. We're booked against them as we come into the locker room. You know, you see the list. And there we are. We're booked against them. And I was okay, man. I'm like, all right, let's go, man. I'm ready. I'm ready to battle.
What happened?
You know, Bobby was more of a, hey, Tom, because he had this superstition that he liked to start the match.
Yeah.
Because he thought that if he started, that everything would go okay. It was just a superstitious thing.
Right.
And we all have different little quirks. But,
absolutely. So what happened?
So of course, Bobby wants to change that now and have me start.
Okay, that's great. So what happened? And Bobby always starts the matches, and now you're starting because he wants to see what the pace and the tone is.
Oh, yeah. He wants to see how hard I'm going to get hit.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So, anyway, this tag team that we were wrestling, I get in the ring with the bigger of the two, and we start the match. Well, of course, he hits me about 3 times, as hard as he could possibly hit me.
Yeah.
First one, I went, okay. Second one, I went, all right. Third one, I went, oh, hell no.
3-strike rule, brother.
I lit him up like a freaking firecracker, dude. I lit him up like you've never seen nobody light up before. In his eyes, you could tell he was scared. And all of a sudden, it went from stiff as hell to light as a feather.
Oh, that's tremendous.
It was. And Bobby was standing over there. Bless his heart. I tagged him in. He went, damn, you all right? I said, yeah, I'm all right. Let's shoot this guy off and show him what the Fantastics are all about, buddy. Come on. Kick it in. So Bobby turned into a hell of a little shooter, man.
Really?
I mean, I'm going to throw a name out there. I don't want to, but this is all good. Dynamite Kid.
Oh, yeah.
And Davey Boy, I love him.
Yeah.
Dynamite, one of the greatest, guys, one of them in this business.
Absolutely.
Back in the day, one of the higher flyers, the Dynamite Kid, man, he was a legend.
Absolutely. And I never met Dynamite, but I have a ton of respect for his work and know that he was one of the tough guys in the squared circle.
Oh, God.
So how'd y'all get on?
So anyway, well, Bobby, we're wrestling them, and Bobby gives Davey Boy one of those quick snap suplexes of Dynamites. And I went, oh, Jesus. I went, oh, God. And, of course, Dynamite jumps straight in, comes over, grabs Bobby after doing that to Davey Boy, and, just I said, Bobby, after we got in the back, I said, whatever possessed you to do Dynamite Kid snap? Come on, man. You deserve that. You don't do that.
So what'd he say?
And he goes, man, I didn't mean to. It just sort of happened. And I said, Davey Boy's 280 damn pounds.
Yeah.
He's giving his body, and he didn't use Dynamite's move.
So Bobby was pissed off that he jacked his move, right?
That's cardinal sin.
Yeah.
Yeah. You got to get a receipt. That's what Dynamite did.
Right. And
he showed Bobby exactly. Yeah, he showed Bobby exactly what not to do. But on the other hand, I love them. I have the utmost respect for them. And man, what a learning experience that was, wrestling those guys.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
Do you own a home or condo? Or perhaps you rent a house or apartment? Sure you do. And Geico knows it can be hard work. Because whether you own or rent, you still have to fill it full of your stuff. Your furniture, the flat screen, and all the boxes of stuff that have been sitting there ever since you moved in, but haven't unpacked. It's hard to find the time, right? But you know what's easy? Bundling policies with Geico. Geico makes it easy to bundle your homeowner's or renter's insurance along with your auto policy. That way, you'll rest easy knowing that your home and all your stuff is protected, like the furniture and that flat screen. Plus, getting a quote on homeowners and renters insurance is super easy through Geico. It's a good thing, too, because you already have so much to do around your home. Like going through all those boxes of stuff. Visit geico.com, get a quote, and see how much you could save. It's Geico easy. Visit geico.com today. That's geico.com.
The Steve Austin Show. The Steve Austin Show.
I'm sitting here talking to Tommy Rogers. And going to Japan, and we were talking about how you ended up in Hawaii and all the places we've been. So was Hawaii a stopover on the way to Japan, and you fell in love with Hawaii and never decided to come back to, the part of the states that's connected?
We all lived different places at different times in our career. Man, we moved more than U-Haul. Yeah. So I was living in Florida, and when we'd have to fly to L.A., we'd get on JAL and go business class, which was close to first class as you could get to Japan. And while I was over there, one of the boys goes, hey, man, you can have a stopover, after the tour and get some rest in Japan. They'll give you the tickets open-ended. So that means you can stop in Japan and not pay nothing and then just pick right back up and head to L.A., Florida. The business over here in Hawaii, I think, I don't know when it died or what happened, but they used to have a territory here, but when I started, there was no territory here. But I wanted to see Hawaii. Anybody that's listening to this will know that, hey, Hawaii, oh, yeah, I want to go there. So, of course, I stopped from a 4-week tour. It was Steve Williams. Yeah, he and I came here to Honolulu, and when I got off the plane and that open breezeway, I smelled the smell of plumera, which is one of the beautiful flowers we have over here, and that trade wind that we have. I got off the plane, and I was like, wow. And I was just at the airport. Man, smell this, feel this. I'm not even sweating. And this airport didn't have no air conditioning. So Steve had been here a couple of times, quite a few probably. And so, we stayed at the Waikiki Circle. They give the boys a rate, and right on the beach. And, it just felt good. it was like after a 4-week tour in Japan, and boy, your body's beat up.
Dude, a 4-week tour in Japan is brutal.
Yeah, buddy, you're ready to turn off the gas, the juice, everything that you just went through, and just chill out. Just, I made it. This is your payoff right here, Hawaii. This is part of your payoff. And so Steve and I stayed about a week, and then, of course, I went back to Florida. So, they were testing us, and I guess we passed the test. So they called us up again and said, well, we'd like to have you back, and this is how many weeks we want you. So Bobby and I did 10 years almost in Japan.
Hey, man, how'd you like it over there, the culture and the lifestyle of Japan? I only went on a few trips, and the longest I was ever over there was for 3 weeks. I enjoyed it immensely. People over there, they were smoking a lot of cigarettes at the time. They drink a lot of beer, and everybody's riding a bicycle. But it seems like a very stressful place. But I really enjoyed it. I didn't like so much too many of the bus trips. I preferred being in a car with a bunch of guys, drinking beer and telling stories. So that part of it was different. I'll tell you that the 3-week tour that I went over there, because when I speak, it was kind of like me and Arn, Benoit, Malenko. Now those guys, and Guerrero, those guys were Japan guys for a big part of their career. But me and Arn were basically stateside wrestlers. So we went over there, and as much as I enjoyed it, it was culture shock. And you're not into any type of pattern that you've ever been in your life. So me and Arn drank beer like fiends just to maintain our sanity. So, I love Japan. I love the strong style. I love the work ethic and the way they bring up their young boys. But I preferred the States to Japan.
Mm-hmm. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I'm American born and bred. You know what I mean?
Hey, and the thing is a little bit different. I mean, because, dude, when the Fantastics were on fire, it was y'all had a similar type pop to the rock and roll, because when they hit y'all's music, I mean, the chicks and the guys like y'all too, but the shrill, it's a loud shrill. It's a different kind of pop, because let's face it, you guys, not only could you go in the ring, but y'all were eye candy for the gals. And so y'all had that dynamic. And when you go out to Japan, it's a whole different adrenaline rush. And it's almost more like a shoot and more like a sport. We all know it's a work, but there's totally two different dynamics from making an entrance to Japan than to, let's say, Greensboro, North Carolina, or Dallas, Texas in the Sportatorium.
Right, Steve. Right. Yeah. And you and I, and anybody who's been to Japan, we know that. They sit on their hands. They watch technique. They don't go just to see a show. They go to see what ability you have.
Right.
And for that, they sit on their hands. And until you get their respect, only do they start maybe stomping a little bit.
Right.
But you could hear a damn pin drop sometimes, well, most of the time, when you're wrestling. So you know how the dynamic, and I do, over there is. It is hard to get a crowd to even get a pop of any kind.
But let's talk about that for a second. Let's talk about getting over in Japan versus the States, because some guys got over in Japan that couldn't necessarily get over in the States. They had their better runs there. And you guys had equal success. You guys were over like Rover here in the States and did well over there because you were great technically in the ring. But so what's the difference? Because you're trying to light them up in the United States and in the work. What's the key to getting over in Japan? And because here's my first trip. We went over there, and then all of a sudden, Chris Benoit goes to the ring. I think he was the third or fourth match, and I think I was a match or two after him. And it might have been with Malenko, or it might have been Liger, his opponent. I can't remember. But you can imagine trying to follow a wrestling match like the one they put on. You're thinking, are you kidding me? I'm 50 pounds, so I couldn't do near the things that those guys could do on an athletic basis, or the techniques that they were using. So I'm thinking, are you kidding me? I have to follow this? But in Japan, the thing about it is, don't worry about what the guy did before you. Just do what you do, and that's what they expect you to do. And it took me a little bit of time before I figured that out. Don't worry about what Chris Benoit, Malenko, Guerrero, those badasses are doing. Stick to your game plan, and the people will come. As long as you look solid, you do your thing, and hey, you're either going to get over or you're not. And that's true in the States as well. But over there, it can be very intimidating to follow a hell of a tag team like you guys would put on, or Doc and Gordy, or any of those guys who are Japan veterans. Just do what you do.
Yeah, exactly.
How long did it take the Fantastics to get over there?
Well, when we first went over there, like, we were tested.
Yep.
We were just there to be tested because, like I told you, the team before us ran out of there with their tails between their legs, man. So they were expecting us probably to do the same.
Yeah.
And we changed their mind. Anyway, we're in Kyoto, which is a part of Japan, and there's this the magazines over there, how good the picture.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, a Japanese person is born with a camera, a cigarette, and a microphone. Like karaoke. I don't know how else to say it, man. And a beer.
Yeah.
So anyway, they I guess about 3 weeks in, we're in Kyoto, and they had already figured out that we were coming back, but they weren't telling us. But they wanted to do a photo shoot, and they take us to all these temples and have us jogging. And so the next week, we see these magazines, and we're on about every damn page, and we're like, well, hell, where's all the other boys at? You know what I mean? Well, come on, we got to give somebody else some credit here. What the hell are we doing all over this magazine? We don't draw, the whole damn crowd. We just draw a few. It takes a whole damn crew. So anyway, that's, as and I know as color commentators or magazines, when people read something or hear something, they believe it.
Right.
So that magazine must have said, I don't know, I can't speak Japanese. I speak a little enough to get me in trouble, but, I just knew I could see the pictures.
Yeah.
I didn't know what the hell, they were saying.
But a picture's worth 1,000 words, and that you guys are starting to get over.
Yeah. Right. So that was, I think, the beginning of us getting over. But, like you said, we had just only did a 4-week tour. We didn't hardly touch some of the towns in Japan.
Right.
We didn't even come close. Yeah. People don't realize how big Japan is, man. Hell, we get on a bus some days, drive 8 hours, get on a ferry, go another 7 hours, and then get back on a bus and go another 3 hours, and then finally get there.
Hey, dude, I didn't make any trips like that. I certainly had my share of bus rides and one ferry ride, and that's why we was drinking a lot of beer after the matches.
Yeah, man.
Oh, man, that was the beauty of Japan. Over there, to the listeners of the show, we got Coke machines over here where you put your money in and you can get a Pepsi or a Sprite. They had beer machines over there. You could put a couple of Japanese coins and get a damn beer out of the machine. I thought I was in heaven.
Yeah. I mean, at any time of the night, it didn't matter. Like you said, it was like a Coke machine. And then, of course, these beers are not like normal 12 or 16-ounce beers. Some of these beers were like a mini keg. Come out of that machine, and you're like, holy hell. How the hell did they get that in there, and how did it come out of that big-ass hole? You just go, wow. Wow. But, yeah, that's what kept me pretty much sane. Like you said, it's a different culture. It's a different lifestyle, and you had to do what you had to do to keep sane. You're away from home. You're away from America. Nobody speaks your language, or they do. If they do, they kayfabe you, or they don't. Or, and I know when you'd call a spot in that ring, if it wasn't okay with them, they would act like they didn't understand what you were saying. But then again, when it was in their favor, they understood you.
Yeah, it's funny how that selective understanding works.
Yeah.
Hey, Tommy, you're obviously an old school guy. These days, with the advent of technology, you remember going down the road when we had to make a phone call. You pulled over at a truck stop at Denny's or whatever, and you got on a payphone and started putting coins in that thing, or you called somebody collect. Or if you were a little advanced than that, you had the calling card where you could dial a number. And you could go all day long and not talk to anybody because you didn't have a phone. And then came the beepers or the pagers, and okay, there's the number from home. Let me pull over and call home. These days in Japan, what is your cell phone device? Are you on an iPhone?
Well, yeah. Back in, like you said, man, we had no communication. When we were on sometimes we were in a remote town. I mean, a phone was the furthest thing that we got to the room, and of course you had to have that calling card. So, as we wrestle, we try to figure out how much money we can save in 4 weeks. Right. So now here you're budgeting calling home with these calling cards. And sometimes it was how do I say this? It was a nightmare to try to even get through.
Oh, dude.
So anybody English on your family side, just to talk to somebody at home.
Dude, back in the day when we used to always stay at the Kiel Plaza there and trying to get on that phone line and get an outside line, and then, if you couldn't get through, you're talking to a Japanese operator, and over here in the United States, man, they'll accommodate a bunch of different languages, especially these days, and even back then. But over there, they don't give a rat's ass if you speak English. And there's so many people from our country going over there, but they don't care. It's Japanese, so, dude, half the time I'd be in there, my wife would say, well, why come you didn't call? And when I said I couldn't get a line out, it was a shoot. I couldn't figure out how the damn phone worked.
There you go, Steve. It was like, now, I put it like the modern day now with this computer stuff. Hell, I had to try to figure out how to work this damn, I was trying.
What kind of telephone you got?
I got one of those, I guess, I don't know. One of those iPhones, you can touch up the computer or go to Google something.
Yeah, you can send an email with it.
Yeah, but I don't know how to do that, Steve.
You still that old school? You're not sending emails?
Yeah. Well, no, I have my stepson. He does my Facebook, and he does all that for me. He'll call me and he'll ask me if I, whatever, and I do very rarely. And Steve, I love you to death, man, and that's the only reason I'm on this show. I don't do many of these things, Like I said, I stay off the radar. I don't like to fly. I don't like to travel. And
you picked a hell of a job to get into for someone who doesn't like to fly and travel, because that's all you did.
Well, Steve, and I know, we used to love to. At one point, we did like to travel.
Yeah, you know what? To your point, I don't like to travel either. I'll go to Mexico or whatever and do a gig every now and then, but I'm in one place. Yeah. But that is the one thing that I don't miss on the road. Now, to going back to what you said, when we were doing it and it was hot and heavy and it was what we did for a living, I loved it because sometimes I would be out on the road so strung out I couldn't wait to get home. And then as soon as I got home, I couldn't wait to get back on the road. I didn't know whether to crap or wind my watch. I just knew that as much as I loved the road, I hated the road, and then I was addicted to the road when it came down to the end. And by the time I got out of the business, it took me 3 years to get over it. But I do not miss traveling any whatsoever. That's for the most part these days. Hey, with that being said, do you ever come back to the States over here to visit, or you just stay in Hawaii?
Well, like you just said, it's a double-edged sword. I mean, we like to travel, but we didn't like to travel. I mean, after a period of time, but you had to get there some way.
Yeah.
Whether it be car, whether it be plane, whether it be boat, whether it be, train, whatever it was, we just had to get there. So, yeah, we, like you said, yeah.
But do you ever come back to the States anymore?
Well, I was in New Orleans.
Hey, man, I missed you in New Orleans.
I know, but, they had us going in every damn direction.
Yeah, man, I would have loved to have seen you. How'd you enjoy the show?
I was trying to get to see you. I came over to one of those hotels. I got to see Terry Taylor, Ted DiBiase, Michael Hayes.
You crossed paths with those guys in Dallas and Mid-South, and those were some great, man, what a great roster of guys that was.
Oh, man, now come on. The Freebirds and the Von Erichs, and we got to wrestle, the Freebirds many times, and, Terry Gordy, one of the best in the business, started out when he was 13.
Yeah.
13. I mean, my gosh. what a pleasure to get in a ring with a man like that. My goodness gracious. I mean, if you've never been in the ring with Terry Gordy, Bam Bam, man, you missed a great man.
What was it about him that you liked in the ring? I never got a chance to work with him, but I was always such a fan of his work. Yeah, well, of course, first and foremost, he was a gentleman. Yeah. I mean, he was just a hell of a man, you know. Never a bad word out of that guy's mouth, ever. But then, when you got in the ring with him, you know, like a Chris Benoit, you had to be on your A game. Right. Because, you know, Bam Bam was on it, buddy. Yeah. I mean, he could make you look like $1 million, man. He could shine you like a roughed up stone and make you look like a diamond. You know, in an instant. Yeah. And then on the other hand, if he didn't like it, he could stop his mud hole in your ass. And then stop it dry. You know, so for that, I had the utmost respect already for this gentleman. And to be in the ring with him, man, and, you know, Buddy Roberts, Michael Hayes, you know, it's just all great memories, man.
This has been a Podcast One production. Download new episodes of The Steve Austin Show every Tuesday at PodcastOne.com. That's PodcastOne.com.
All month long on Pluto TV, stream the biggest Tyler Perry movies free. Watch your favorites like Medea's Witness Protection and Medea's Big Happy Family. Join Tyler Perry as he goes on a couples retreat with Sharon Leal in Why Did I Get Married? Or Idris Elba and Gabrielle Union in the Tyler Perry directed film Daddy's Little Girls. Plus, Pluto TV has hundreds of channels with thousands more movies and TV shows available on live and on demand. Download the free Pluto TV app on all your favorite devices and start streaming now. Pluto TV. Drop in, watch free.
Hey, Friday Night Lights fans! It's not only football. Friday Night Lights and Beyond is an episode-by-episode discussion of the hit TV series Friday Night Lights, hosted by yours truly, Scott Porter, who played Jason Street on the show, and my two wonderful co-hosts,
me, Zach Guilford, a.k.a. Matt Saracen,
and me, Mae Whitman, a.k.a. someone who wasn't on the show but really, really loves it a lot.
We will also bring on some special guests, answer your questions, and tell you about what's going on in our lives today.
It's not only football. Friday Night Lights and Beyond is available now wherever you get your favorite podcasts.
Clear eyes, full hearts, can't lose!
Yo, what's good? It's your boy, Big Brother Jake, a.k.a. Jake Warner, my government name. Check it out. I host a show called the Big Brother Jake Podcast, and I've taken my talents to the biggest and baddest platform on the planet. That's right, baby, PodcastOne. My show is unique as I talk about everything. Life, sports, entertainment, being a single dad juggling several jobs. I'm a hot mess, but it's damn entertaining. Subscribe and review now on Apple Podcasts and listen on PodcastOne or wherever you get your podcasts.